everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Knee Slappin' K-Pop podcast. I'm Sammy. I'm here with Kayla.
Hello.
And we're gonna do our we're gonna do another set. This is our first set.
I know. Because
we usually do these one at a time.
Yeah, there's truly been like a record number of survival shows
insane.
this year. Like an actually insane amount of survival shows airing this year.
I mean, we've already talked about like 2 of them.
Three. At least. Three.
We've talked about 3. We're talking about 2 more. There's one more we're on this episode we're doing Queendom Puzzle and Are You Next?
Yes.
2 shows that recently-ish for Queendom Puzzle and recently for Are You Next finished airing.
Yes.
And this year we've already done Boys Planet, Peak Time, and Fantasy Boys.
Yep.
These 2. We are currently not going to do a video on it. Absolutely refuse to do a video on it. But we're keeping up with the NCT Universe
last
show.
Start, whatever's happening
Last Start.
We are,
I don't know.
I would say, watching it in quotation marks because it's really...
But also nothing happens every episode, so we're watching.
Right.
That show is a disaster. That's why we'll make references to that
don't
show,
love that
but
show.
we're not covering it because also there's very little to say.
Yeah. And then, like, A2K is also airing, but we don't care about that at all.
We're not watching that one. We're also not watching Nizzy Project 2 for the boy group. We are probably going to, by the time this is out, we are probably going to be watching Dream Academy. We might do a video on that. And we're going to watch Produce Japan Season 3, obviously.
Right, because that starts in October, and we have to watch that for produce reasons,
That's our brand at this point.
Yep.
Our brand is this.
This is our brand.
This is
what we built this podcast on, really. So
look, I think we've built this podcast on this, and I think it's caused a problem for me.
Yeah,
because I also haven't watched here's the thing, kind of, because we both each of us are watching the current big CBS competition for reality shows. Mm-hmm. Mainly because you watch Survivor, but you've watched Survivor for years, and I haven't watched Big Brother in years. Mm-hmm. I watched Big Brother a lot when I was a child. I have not watced Big Brother in years.
I used to watch
watching Big Brother.
I stopped watching Big Brother about 5-6 years ago because the trash it just attracts the trashiest humans in the world.
Absolutely. And guess who's watching all this trash? I don't watch the feeds, people. I get all I need from the feeds have like 10 minutes of actual content every day, and I get all of that from TikTok if I need to.
As you should.
Because I'm not sitting there for hours.
Yes.
Watching people not do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to say is that I have not watched Big Brother in years. I haven't felt the need to. Guess who's watching Big Brother now? Also, for my opinions on season 25 of Big Brother, fuck Jared. I hate Jared. Love Corey and America. Corey, America, Felicia, and Nicole. Best 4. But that's neither here nor there. Just my opinions. All of these people may have gone home by the time this episode comes out, because we record these in a month in advance.
Right. This one's got a faster turnaround than some of the ones we've done, so it's
because we had to wait for our units
out
to
of
finish.
date. Yeah,
but I guess we should start for our overall thoughts before people have to watch us talk about things in circles for an hour to find out our real opinions.
Right.
Let's do a TLDR.
Yes.
What did you think of? So you watched Queendom Puzzle.
I did.
I watched Are You Next? Mm-hmm. What did you think?
So I think
overall thoughts.
This is a really good format of a show. I think this is Mnet fixing the Queendom Kingdom series format so they can continue to make this series longer. Because I think they realized, because at this point in time they've done essentially 2 seasons of each gender. They've done Queendom 1 and 2, and then Road to Kingdom and Kingdom. And they've essentially exhausted the list of groups that they can use on those shows at this point.
I think the main issue is that they set their standards too high.
They did.
Especially
they really
the Road to Kingdom
over.
part.
I think Road to Kingdom was the beginning of the end for them. Yeah. That was a mistake. But now with Queendom Puzzle, it's like you can just invite whoever the fuck you want. We got
unlimited number of people per group.
Super Nugu to old girl group member who's a soloist now, and it's like you can invite literally anyone you want. You just need to get 28 people willing to come on the show, and that's not, I don't think, very hard. So I think
there's 28
really
people not doing anything for 3 months. Why not?
the show was fine. A lot of people think the show was shady. I fully disagree. I don't think it was any more or less shady than any other Mnet show. Also, the stakes do not matter. This is a show, like this entire Queendom Kingdom series, this is a show with very little to no stakes, so I don't think anyone who loses this are really losing out on much of anything. I really think that they only have things to gain. The editing is just like your typical Mnet editing. There was, I don't think, anything there that was different than usual for them. And I do think the group we got from the end is probably the best lineup we could have gotten out of this show. There's a couple people I would have preferred in there, but I think all things considered, the final lineup is also pretty good. So I'm not mad at that either.
Especially for the group you're getting out of that show, it's like it's not like it's a permanent thing.
Right. It's like, and it's also, it's like,
not even really a temporary thing.
It's gonna not, like it doesn't mean anything. Like, just how, like, winning Queendom or Kingdom really didn't mean anything, this also doesn't mean a lot. So what about Are You Next? What are the thoughts?
All right. So, to start, Are You Next is, I think with Are You Next, there's a lot of baggage, because much like with weirdly a lot of things about Hybe, you go into it not knowing what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, is this Island 2? What? Because this show started before we got the official announcement that B-Lift got bought by Hybe. So we're like, does this mean that they're also sending their trainees to Island 2? Turns out no. In the divorce, Mnet kept CJE&M kept the cube and the name Island, and Hybe kept everything else. Good things.
Yep. Whatever divorce happened there.
And whatever was happening there. So this is just B-Lift Labs. I think people, especially because it's B-Lift and this comes after Island, people were going in with expectations. And I think the problem is that the expectations of Island are too grand. No, because this isn't not even Produce ever had the budget of Island. Like, the shows that get Island budget, and a lot of people are comparing it now to Dream Academy. Dream Academy is a collaborative thing. It's also a weird, big international project. Of course, it's going to get a budget.
It's also not a Kpop
Not Kpop
group. Yeah.
That too. Island was just, like, I think Hybe trying to make a statement. And I think that they don't, like, also with the issues that Island as a show had, considering I think it's one of the cruelest survival shows ever made. We've spoken at length about Island.
Mm-hmm.
At length. But I think that for what it is, I think the show was structured exactly how I thought it was. I think the main issue with this show, and the issue a lot of people have, is twofold. One, I think that this show would have greatly benefited from either... I think step one is do not push this group as an international girl group, which is what they were pushing in their marketing.
Uh-huh.
That's not what it is. This group, especially when you look at the final product, is entirely to Korea's taste.
Right.
It is exactly what Korea looks for in a girl group. It is not at all what the international audience looks for in a girl group. Mm-hmm. And both of those tastes are things that you do have to cater to. But you can't say you're going to cater to one and then take none of their opinion. So I think they shot themselves in the foot by first calling this international girl group.
Right.
And then twofold, I think they also kind of shot themselves in the foot by not being as upfront about the voting. Because the thing with Island, and the thing that I loved about Island that was very clear from the beginning,
really did not matter.
The votes don't matter. And also, they made it very clear from the beginning that the judges have the biggest say.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the end of that show, sure, you got to pick, I think, 6 out of 7 members of ENHYPEN. But by that point, the way the judges had structured the show, they were whittled down to a group of 10 kids. And I think every single one of them, they would have been okay with being in the group. I truly think Hybe was like, well, if any of these kids with that last spot, we will slot in the final kid we have to push if he gets kicked out or whatever. But, like, I think we've whittled it down to 10 people we actually like.
Right.
And I think that this show, because I think it was formatted a little weirder, it wasn't as clear. Because in the end, everyone seemed surprised when it was going to be, judges pick 4, only 2 girls are picked by votes entirely.
Right. Like, it did feel like they waited way too long to clarify how that was going to work. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like that's the main thing. But also, and I don't know if it's just because I've watched so many of these shows, and this is not the first time I've watched a show that is a company making a group entirely, like, an in-house permanent group. Like, this isn't a temporary group, this isn't a produce, this isn't anything like that, which is, I think, where a lot of newer K-pop fans mainly go through the produce route, things like that.
Because these types of shows aren't nearly as common anymore. And especially, they definitely don't have as large of a following as the temporary group shows do.
No, they don't. And then Island was such a big success, but they were very upfront with the rules. This one, it almost felt like they were like, oh yeah, keep voting. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I was like, I was never expecting
the end, it kind of mattered at the end.
Kind of. In the end, I was not expecting the votes to matter. And I think that's just because of the experience I came in with, which is that these shows never have the vote. Like, the votes don't matter. They're merely suggestions. Mm-hmm. I also think this show is much more in line with its worst version of it with And Audition. I really think And Audition is still their best, Hybe's, in terms of Hybe's best survival show, because that show felt the most supportive and, like, the most like they were just trying to make a group that was purely well-rounded, and also they didn't pretend that voting mattered on that show either.
Right.
So I still think that's the best one. This I would put kind of on par with Island. I think the structure of the show is a little bit worse with how they reacted with fans, but I think in terms of how they treated the girls, I don't necessarily know. I think COVID really ruined Island, mainly because of, like, how cruel it looked. Like, they were so isolated. So these girls are not nearly as isolated, but also I think Hybe weirdly has very, very hard judging. Like, their critiques are extremely bad, except for one person whom we'll get to, who was praised for breathing. But we'll get to her.
Yep.
And yes, I am upset about the lineup. If you asked me yesterday, I would be raging, but I've calmed down like an adult. And looking at the lineup, I think that the lineup is mostly fine. Right. I think we have one glaring issue, and I hope that that person is able to improve. But I do think that overall that glaring issue is twofold. I think it is a glaring issue because one can blame Hybe management, and that's, like, the main people to blame for it. And I think on the second fold, it's also Knet's.
Yeah.
Because the reason she's there, I don't even think is her talent. I think it's because Knet's love her.
Yeah.
And you can see because she was extremely highly voted, Knet's love her. Hybe was almost forced to put this, like, if she had been, I compare this to sort of a Doha situation, or Dowell, was that his name on Produce?
Yeah, Dowell, yeah.
Dowell, yeah. Wherein I think that there is a very high chance that these people get extremely positive if Korea latches on to them. And then if Korea doesn't, okay, you can easily shuffle them out because the talent level's not there.
Right.
But you also compare it to Haewon. Haewon, if Korea did not latch onto her immediately, very easy, that show very clearly you push her out of the way.
Right.
The fact is, they see from when the show starts airing that this girl is extremely, because I will say, in the beginning, that girl was super not focused on. Then the minute that she starts doing super well in the polls, she gets more focus, and then it just sort of becomes like a snake eating its own tail situation where it's like, oh, she's super popular, but now they're focusing on her, but now she's more popular. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, that's how reality TV works. And I do think that the problems with her, again, there's a couple things. One, let's not bully a 16-year-old. That's first thing. But also, I do think she needs to be more well-prepared. And three, I think that is a twofold issue between Hybe and also Knet's, who seem to like people who look like they're scared deer. But that's my opinion on Wonhee.
Yep.
This show I don't know how I feel about this show. I think how I feel about this show will solely be based on what happens to both the group that comes out of it.
Right.
All It.
Yeah, let's also talk about how both of these shows gave us two of the worst names for a K-pop group I've ever heard in my life.
Awful. Awful.
They fixed L's up a little bit, but it's still really bad. Like, it still is a bad name.
All It confused. It's the word. My mouth
so
doesn't want
bad.
to say
like
it.
You can't even pronounce it.
I'm gonna say eyelet
Mm-hmm.
but that's also not what they're called. It's also my mouth doesn't want to say all it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't. And also, I think it depends on how that group goes, and also if we ever see any of the girls that I liked that aren't in this group again.
Right.
If we don't, I'll be very upset.
Considering we have seen a lot of the island kids now,
yes,
I feel like
but
probably
we haven't seen a lot of the island kids doing amazing.
Well. Yeah, they're doing they're in
one of them might go to jail.
We're also in mid-tier to Nugu boy groups, so
yeah. I think it all depends on what happens to two people.
Yeah.
And we'll get to my two girls.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with Queendom Puzzle.
Right, because it started and finished first.
And maybe I will have, parsed through my thoughts by the time we come back to me.
Yep. So
I've been thinking about that show for hours.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
just
so
it
confusing.
Yeah.
But I'm it's so confusing to me that I'm
uh-huh.
But the lineup is so if I got a group that's 5 out of 6 okay.
Uh-huh.
Or even really 4.5 out of 6 okay.
Right.
I'm that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that one
person can really ruin a group for you.
It can, especially if they can't get drowned out by 11 other people.
I know that from 1-on-1. It wasn't even one person ruined the group. It was JR did not make the group, and I immediately lost all interest in following 1-on-1. So
yeah. Also, justice for Chanel.
Mm-hmm.
I will, if you're 15 minutes in and you want to know my opinions, justice for Chanel.
I feel like a lot of people also have that
A lot of people agree.
Yeah.
A lot of people agree. They lost, I think, a solid, 200 or 2,000 followers after the hour after she got eliminated on their TikTok. I'm damn.
Damn.
Go, Chanel.
All right.
We'll get to Chanel.
Yep. So, Queendom Puzzle. We start off with a 28 people who are all...
That's such a large cast.
Yeah, they're all either currently in a girl group, a soloist, or were in a girl group. And just to very quickly go over the whole cast, because they are all, mostly well-known idols. So we have Jiwon, Bora, and Chaerin from Cherry Bullet, Huiso and Rina from High Key, Haeyeon from Laboom, Sangha from Lightsum, Yuki from Purple Kiss, Yeonhee, Sooyeon, and Juri from Rocket Punch, Jiwoo and Soyeon from Triple S, Jihan, Zoa, Sujin, and Soon from Weekly, Ali from Lucky Meki, Yoram from WJSN, Nana and Wooyeon from Wooa. Then we have K, now soloist, formerly of Lovelyz, Yeon, formerly of CLC, now a soloist, Zohwa, formerly Chanmi of AOA, she now uses a different name. Jui, formerly Momoland, Chaeyeon, former IZ*ONE, now a soloist. And then we have Miru, who is a former AKB48 member who was also on, or NMB48, I guess, who was on Produce 48, so I am familiar with her from that. And then we have Fee, who is a Thai soloist who I honestly don't know where they found her and got her on the show, but she's also here and she's fine, but I just have no clue how they found her and got her on this show. So that was also, so she's also here.
They needed 28 people.
Yep.
They were open casting, whoever.
Right.
They're we need 28 people.
So there are the 28 people we start with. So the first, I think 3 episodes on the show are what they call the re-ranking stages, which are essentially audition
always
stages.
Confused me because I'm what are we re-ranking? You haven't been ranked.
So they arbitrarily ranked them all when they came onto the show. They put them into 4 tiers. And based off of the number of times they won first place on a music show and the largest number of first week orders among physical album datas. And so they took that and they added it together and then based on that put them into 4 tiers. Those tiers go pretty much how you would expect them to go in terms of popularity wise.
Oh, fun.
So it's
exactly how I think
it's really not any different than what you think those tiers were. So they put them in those tiers right when they show up, and then they say, okay, so now we're gonna rearrange the tiers, but based off of talent. So they all audition, and then they all have to vote on whether or not they think their performance is good or bad. So then they each give them all an up or a down score. Up meaning they want them to move up a tier, down saying they should move down a tier. And so they watch everyone's performance. They all get to vote on each other's performances.
I can see where the shade accusation
Yeah,
comes
so
in,
there's a
because
lot
I've
of
seen
shade.
clips of this on TikTok and it was hilarious.
A lot of it is Chaeyeon.
A lot of people have so many opinions on. Is it because we've watched so much reality TV? Is it maybe that?
Maybe that I'm just like desensitized to it, because it's like,
because also if I can get through like Drag Race editing, this shit don't faze me,
right? And also
but
it's like, these are all debuted idols, and it's like, I feel like we can be adult enough that like giving someone an up or a down score on a performance that they think is bad, like, I don't think that's shady. Like, they're giving their honest opinions. The only person who was a little bit weird in this entire thing was Chaeyeon, because she gave every single person a downvote for no reason other than she wanted to do that.
This girl out here living her big brother. She was on the wrong show. She's like, okay, but I gotta play the game, and I'm like, what game?
What game are you
You're
playing?
on Queendom Puzzle, not Big Brother.
Yeah, and so Chaeyeon and also Haein of Laboom will then leave the show right after this round. So they will leave the show immediately, for quote unquote personal reasons.
Sure.
Neither of them were really thriving anyway, so I don't think that affected much at all. So after
she realized this wasn't a cash prize. She's like,
right.
Oh shit, I thought I was on a different show.
Exactly. So after that, they put everyone in their new tiers. I don't know. I can't remember if it matters a little bit. So in the next round is where we get the quote unquote like signal songs of the show, Charismatic and Snap. So they get split in half. Essentially, half of them are going to perform Charismatic, half of them perform Snap, and then those two are also split into two groups. So there's 2 teams doing Charismatic and 2 teams doing Snap of each 7.
I do remember when that came out.
Yep.
When that I was just like, what?
Yep, it's confusing.
It was so because that much like all signal songs, they come out like 3 weeks before the show comes out, and I was like, wait, what's going on?
Yes.
No one knew yet, and we're all very confused.
No one knew the format, so I'm pretty sure they do get to choose what song they want to perform based on how many upvotes they got in the first round. So that did matter a little bit. So they split themselves into 2 songs for that, and then the 2 people who had the highest amount of votes in each team, which ended up being Jiwon of Cherry Bullet and also Bora of Cherry Bullet, got to split each of the songs in half, and they got to pick the teams that they wanted, and then they left the other 7 as the other team.
Okay.
So that was kind of
Fair
fun
enough.
for that. And so I think that both Charismatic teams, I think Charismatic is a better song, generally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, and I think both teams do pretty equally well. I don't think one team is significantly better than the other there. Snap is a bad song. Much worse of a song. Yeah. I also think Bora makes really bad decisions splitting the teams. Because, like, Snap is more of, like, a noise music song, and so she picks all of the rappers for her.
Oh, no.
Except for the fact that it comes back to the same problem we say all the time, that if you're going to have a rap-focused group, you need to have good vocalists to back it up, so she left...
hold it down.
So she left all of the main vocalists in the other team, and Bora is a main vocalist, but her Bora, I found on this show, while a very good vocalist, because her tone is so specific, it's also very limiting, the type of songs where she can sing and it sounds good. Like, technically she can sing songs well, but her tone is so, like, specific that it's, like, off-putting depending on the type of, like, song she is singing. So this is one of those songs where, like, her voice just doesn't fit it well. So, and then Kay and Huiso, who were on the other team where she left them, both have much more, like, diverse vocal abilities, so they sound good in essentially any genre of song you put them in. So that team just sounds way better because they have all of the main vocalists in there, and it, like, yeah, they have subpar rappers, but the rap is not what's holding up that song to begin with. So Bora loses that round, and it is completely her fault why they lose that round.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then, so they get judged by a panel of judges, a lot of random-ass people on this panel. Like, they got some B2B members on the panel. Hyolyn came on the panel. They got some, like, street woman fighter people. They got that one guy who's the dance mentor in all of the produced shows on here.
Oh god, he's here.
He came back.
Does
and
he
is
just
here.
make his cash just doing so many of these shows?
Right,
he's just like,
right.
well,
And then like Ryan
notice
Jae
is done.
Hoon is here again because he's all over these
course he's
survival
here.
shows. And so
I
then
feel
they
like-
pick an MVP of each of the two songs, and that ends up being Nana of Lula for Charismatic and Huiso of High Key for Snap. Those are the two front runners of this entire show. They are gonna be in first and second place the entire show. I think Huiso very deserved. I think Huiso comes in first place at the end of the show, and she is like a star. She was really like the one big takeaway from the show where I was like, she is fantastic, actually. Should be a soloist, not gonna lie. Nana, I find to be incredibly average at everything. Like, she's not bad at all, but I think she is so just average that I do not understand like the massive amount of hype around her. And maybe it's a visual thing. I'm not really sure. But I don't think she's bad. I just think she's very average.
Fair enough. I mean, look, there's idols that are... Look, we are nothing if not haters on in this podcast. If you're looking for abject positivity, leave now. You probably would have already left by the half-hour mark that we're probably at, but still. There's idols that are average, and there's nothing wrong with being average.
Yep. There's also anything I've learned from this show, too, is that there are idols who thrive in a group and idols who shouldn't be soloists, and that's fine. And I've seen that a lot with the older idols who are now soloists. A lot of them, like, are either not good or, like, okay as a soloist, but you put them in a group and they shine.
Thrive.
They thrive way more in that setting. And that's perfectly fine. Not every idol needs to have a solo career. If you are fine in a group, like, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, I do think that that's a thing recently, especially where it's like everyone goes solo, and I'm like, maybe not everyone needs to fully go solo.
My big takeaway with that was Dohwa or Chanmi from AOA. Her solo like audition performance was like really bad. It was very bad. But every other performance she's in, it's like you can easily tell the years of experience she has performing. Like, she is really, really good in every single group performance she does in the show. And I think that's just because she just has so much stage experience and so much experience being an idol, but she doesn't have a lot of experience being a soloist. And I think that's just a very different sort of skill set to have.
Yeah.
So the next round, it's called the Remix Battle. I don't really know what that's about. It's just we're going to cover 6 K-pop songs is all it is, really. And then they split into teams, and Nana and Huiso, who are the MVPs, got to split them into teams. And then if your team won the Charismatic or Snap Battle, you got to object if you wanted to get moved somewhere else, but they could also choose to not move you if they didn't want to. So the two of them
good Lord.
really had a lot of power there.
It seems unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah, so in this round, it was very complicated, and I guess it's like, I can see how people think this is shady, but it's like, it's like, I don't care.
But
like,
also,
it's fine.
if we can't be
Can we not be professional here? Like, this is a reality show, like,
it's a reality show with the lowest stakes possible.
Right.
Like, I don't think, unless these people are insulting you personally, wanting to get moved to a different song is fine.
And it's not like people are talking shit on each other. It's like people are doing it because they want, like, to have a better song, or they want a certain group of people to perform a certain song because they think,
or they want a different
it'll
concept.
be better.
There's
it's
so
like,
many reasons.
it's fine. Like, get over it. It's not that shady.
You'll be fine.
We're thinking about it too much. So
the shade.
I do not like a single performance in this round, really. I don't.
They're not good.
They're not good. I think only one by Boa, which is covered by Soen of Weekly and K, is probably the best one because it is the least offensive, and it is mainly just like K singing most of it. So she's really just carrying the whole thing, and it sounds good because she's a great vocalist.
Bringing back the second gen tactic of one person just carries.
I mean, Soen is also there, and she's not doing poorly, but K is really carrying that performance because there's only 2 of them in it to begin with.
Yeah.
Dance the Night Away is like fine, but also they like sucked all the energy out of it somehow, and I don't understand how they did that. But it's very boring, and it's also just like all of the Cherry Bullet members plus Yunhee and Soyeon a triple S, and so I thought that was really funny how that ended up that way.
It's absolutely incredible how they got so many people from some shows.
Right?
Like, half of the group, it felt like.
Yes. All of Cherry Bullet is just in that performance. Don't Call Me is like that. I just don't like that song, but it's not a bad performance, but I wouldn't say it's a good performance. Nude is weird. And I like...
Very weird.
It's super weird, and it has that problem that a lot of, like, these Queendom Kingdom performances has, where it's like, there are too many ideas happening at once. It's like, where it's like, they were just like, they wanted to do far too much with it, and there were just too many similar but conflicting themes going on in that performance.
Did it feel like what I felt all of these shows did, which is that it was concept first, and then we're shoving the song in?
It did seem like that. It did seem like it was concept first, and then here is the song. I do think it's a little bit less so, because I think it makes sense, because it's just it's a different interpretation of the song, but I don't know if it was executed very well. Is the other thing. Shutdown is like, my god, like, what's happening? Because this is also the performance they decide to make it wolf themed, and it's like, okay, immediately you've lost me with the wolf theming, which I don't know why we made Shutdown a wolf theme, but we did. Everyone but Sangha is doing okay in that performance. Sangha is like one of the big people I have problems with. There's really only two people I have big problems with in the show, and Sangha is one of them. Where it's so funny, too, because the show edits her, like, everyone reacts to her performances like, wow, she's so cool, and I can't believe how cool she is. And so that kind of, the entire show leads you to, like, the false pretense that everyone thinks she's cool, and then she gets eliminated in the first elimination. And I was, like, really happy for me, because I'm like, I'm glad that all of us are also on the same page, that she's just doing too much. And it's like, she is, like, her facial expressions are just so overboard. I, like, cannot look at her whenever she performs. It's like, she is doing, like, 300% at all points in times. And I'm like, I know you think you look really cool, but you are doing too much right now. You do not look cool. And she's also not a good rapper. And she comes into the show and, like, has her descriptor as a little Jun Soyeon, and I'm like, that's an insult to Soyeon. Like, you do not say that. I don't like that.
Yeah. You can't dub yourself little like, that has to be bestowed upon you.
It's also up for debate whether or not they got to choose that or not, or if they were told to say that, but either way,
bad.
It was a bad idea. For her. The other person I have a lot of problems with is Jihan of Weekly. She's in the nude performance. Jihan, I think, is out because Weekly is a more cute group, was really trying to not be cute all the time because her audition was very cute. And so that's why she's in nude now, and she does a lot of the not cute performances in the future of the show, but it's like, she is just like, all of the, like, problems I have with Wonyoung are the same problems I have with her. Where she is, like, also doing too much as well. And it's kind of like, I think a lot of people, the thing with Wonyoung is, like, she seems, like, very fake at times. Where the cuteness and, like, the facial expressions, they just seem very forced. And that is the exact same thing Jihan does. Like, it just is, like, and her facial expressions are also, she's not going quite, like, 300% like Sangha is, but she is also going far too much with the facial expressions, where it's like, I have a hard time looking at you when you perform because of that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it's like the opposite of the problems you have of Wonhee, where it's like she just deer in the headlights, nothing. Like, they're the two, Sangha and Jihan are giving me too much. Yeah, they're going too hard. The last one on this round is the one I really have, like, the biggest gripes with, and it's not, I wouldn't call it the worst performance of this round, but I have the biggest problems with it, and it's the Fighting cover by Bo Suk-soon.
Oh, I watched that one. I have seen, like, probably half of the Queendom Puzzle performances, the super good and the super bad ones, not a lot in the middle.
Yes.
But oh boy,
and
that one
upset me. It's the thing that's upsetting is like, It's a complete misunderstanding of the whole concept of the song. And I don't mean this in the way that they did an office worker concept, because that is also kind of part of the concept of fighting to begin with. But when you start to make it sexy a little bit, like, I don't even care that the whole thing isn't sexy and some of it's fun, but there's a decent portion of this cover that is sexy. And I'm like, nothing about the message of this song is sexy in the slightest.
In any capacity.
So as soon as you're bringing in sexy office worker into this cover, like, you've immediately lost me. Like, that is just a complete misunderstanding of the song and what it's about. Like, I hated it so much. And that's one of my favorite songs of this year. So the fact that they covered it and then completely misunderstood the song made me real mad. So it just makes me mad, that entire cover.
Yeah, it very much just felt like they were like, well, it's the way they decided to adapt this extremely non-gendered concept.
Yeah.
Because it's not particularly gendered anyway.
Right.
Was to make it, well, it's girls now. So
now it has
sexier.
to be sexy. And I'm like, no.
It's like the opposite, honestly.
And it's like the sexy part doesn't even come in until we hit like the first chorus. The first parts of it are like pretty fun. But as soon as we start getting, like, the weird elements of, like, sexy, badass office worker, I'm like, no, shut it down. This is not what this song is. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's, like, not, it doesn't work.
It does not work. So that's round 3, technically. Round 4 is, like, what is I like to call it, like, the Kingdom round 3 part 1 round. Where it's like we split into teams and then we do like weird team battle things.
Yes.
So we split into half. We have Queendom team and we have Puzzle team. And they're gonna each do 3 vocal rap performances and then 2 dance performances apiece. They do different vocal rap songs. The vocal rap stuff I have like very little to say about because they're very average or boring or like nothing is happening with a lot of them. The only ones that I do are the Rush Hour performance. What's going on with that? It's
so long for no reason.
It's so long. There's a whole interlude where Yuki and Yin are like driving in a car and then walking in from the backstage of the building and I'm like, oh my god, it's just so unnecessary.
I think that's like a cute moment in theory.
Right.
It went on for
it's so long.
I don't need to see you driving from that far away.
Yeah.
Like, just be in the car, get out of the car, go and like it does not need to be a full like 2 minutes.
It's far too long. Bad. Also, the Wannabe cover by ITZY has my 2 least favorite people in it. And it is just them going far too hard in this song. And also, for some reason, all of the energy has been taken out of the song. Because it's a vocal cover and not a dance cover. And the dance and the concept is like half of what makes Wannabe so fun. So that's also very bad performance. They also cover, that team covers If We Meet Again by Lim Young Moon. I don't care. It's only by Kay and Bora. It's fine. Whatever. And then the Puzzle team, or the Queendom team, covers Weekend by Taeyeon. That's fine. Pretty boring. Nothing to say about that. And they also cover Hopeless Romantic by Big Naughty. Also, it's fine. I really have no comments on that one. They do also then cover Time of Our Life by Day 6, and that is my favorite cover of this show, which is wild that it's a Day 6 song as my favorite cover of this whole show, but it's very good. It's very fun. Vocals are really strong. It looks like they're having a great time. It's a very simple concept, executed very well. Great job. I love that cover so much. It's really cute. Unfortunately, it will lose to the Wannabe cover, so that's very unfortunate for them. And
that upset me greatly when I heard it.
Also, that Rush Hour performance wins over Weekend, which is also it's crazy. The Puzzle team wins every single
so
thing
it really is
just
a normal queen. It really is just a normal Queendom Kingdom.
It's really Kingdom Legendary War Round 3 Part 1 or whatever. It's really going full that. The one team wins it all, and it's a team that shouldn't be winning them all that wins them all.
Nope.
Because also, you know who wins that is the Bad Blood cover also wins in that round.
That's so
crazy. So all 4 of the dance covers are original songs. Queendom Puzzle has, I think, 12 or 13 original songs in it, like an insane amount of original songs.
when that show, I had, because I was sort of keeping up with it, at least to, like, know what was happening.
Yeah.
At some point, I was just like, what the did I miss 4 rounds? Why are there so many more songs now?
Yep, so we get...
Because it just blew up immediately.
Right. So we get the 2 charismatic and snap at the beginning. We also have Rise Up, which is like the group show ballad. And then we're going to get 4 in this round. I will say these 4 songs are probably the best 4 songs of the show. They're better than both the semifinal songs and the finale songs. So, great. So Bad Blood is a decent song. I like the song as a song. It is a disaster of a performance because right at the beginning, there is this just rapid fire stretch of mistake after mistake after mistake, like right in a row, like 5 of them. And they're very obvious mistakes. And I'm just like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Such like a domino effect of mistakes right in a row like that. Crazy actually that it was that bad.
It was quite a lot.
It was a lot of mistakes
like,
in a row.
You described it to me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I watched it, and I'm like, oh, like they aren't little mistakes.
No.
They're like the main thing they're trying to do.
It's like Yeon struggles for a really long time to light something on fire, and then they fail, I think, 2 or 3 of their dance stunts in a row. And it's like, they're pretty out. And like, the show is actively trying to edit around it, but they are like, obviously, something has gone wrong here.
It's hard to edit around when that's like the main thing on the stage.
And I do think part of it is because I think the choreography they were given was hard. And I don't think they had a lot of say into fixing that to begin with. So they were given a really hard choreography, but it was still
what I know about
bad.
all these shows, they were probably given like 3 days to learn it.
Right. Also, Kay, no idea what to do with her face in this type of concept. Every time I look at her in the song, I'm just like, you don't know what you're doing in this type of a song. Like, you've never done this in Lovelies before.
Not for this.
This is not
it's
for
like,
you.
oh, surprise.
Yeah. So that team also does Web. Web I really like. Web is like a very kind of spooky song, and that's like my aesthetic of music is like a little bit spooky, and I really like that. That's fun. The other team does Overwater, which for some reason has like a 1.5 minute long like English narration of the plot of The Little Mermaid before the song. And
it's so random.
It's so random, and it is so long. It's like we go through the whole plot of The Little Mermaid. And it's like, it's a fine song. It's a fine performance, too. Like, nothing's bad about it, but it just is so funny the first time I heard it.
My main thing with this show is because again, this show is essentially another Queendom thing.
Yes.
This show must have been breakneck.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were 50-something performances in total at this point.
Yep.
And there were 10 episodes like every other season. And I'm like, I'm thinking, because I didn't watch the pacing of it, but I remember thinking back to the regular Queendom seasons we've seen, which were also 10 episodes, didn't have nearly as many performances, and I'm like, no, they didn't feel sparse,
right?
What the hell?
Well, also what starts happening as soon as we hit episode 5, we also start doing live elimination episodes, and so at that point, we've sort of established, like, the timeline of when things are being filmed. So it, like, really picks up after that point where it's like, we have a thing and we do live. Breathe? Right, it's like they're doing so much the entire time.
Yeah.
The other song in that round is Glow Up. Glow Up is a nice song. I have big gripes with the concept and the styling of the stage performance because Glow Up feels very much like it should be a pure, like, badass girl crush, like, kind of concept. And not the weird, like, 90s, like, street clothes sports as, like, athletic kind of vibe that they have
It's 90s, they look like they're from 90s love, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's like, it just, I really think it does not match the show, like, the song. For me, it is a very stark contrast to what the song is about, so that's my biggest problem with it. The performance is fine otherwise. I think it would be better if we changed literally just the styling, and it would be better.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's unfortunate because that song is quite good.
Yes. So we then eliminate 5 people, I think, at this point in time. I don't remember. Yeah, we do eliminate 5 people. So we lose Charon of Cherry Bullet. Honestly, doing a really bad job the entire show. She seems like she just feels like she was not thriving in this concept. Like she just seems like she's having a bad time. Julie from Momoland, Sanga from Lightsum, Soin from Weekly, and Soyeon from Triple S. That was all not surprising for most people watching the show. I think Sanga was the most surprising just because I think everyone else, I think everyone literally thought that everyone else liked her. And so to realize that everyone was kind of on the same page if she's doing too much was honestly pretty nice at that point in time.
I mean, it is probably better to like know that you're not the crazy one.
Right, honestly. So we lose 5 people. Then for some reason we do a live finale elimination, and every single one of these elimination episodes is like formatted like it's the finale of the show for some reason. And it's like we go through this whole...
You gotta bring the drama.
This whole thing where here's the top 7, blah, 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 and we announce that like it's a finale, and I'm like, this is literally, we have to do this 2 more times? Like, this doesn't mean anything. And then we go through, and I think they went through in groups, and it's like, how many people are gonna get eliminated out of this song, blah, 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 type of stuff. So we get rid of those 5 people. We then get the semifinal original songs. So
many original songs.
Those are Puzzlin' by Young K of Day 6, I Don't Give A, which is made by Bobby, and I Do, which is made by Ryan Jae Hoon.
And also just weddings.
Also, it has just like, here comes the bride in the song, and then the wedding march is like in the intro of that performance, and I'm like, this is really a lot. I don't love that.
I've had very little thoughts on most of these performances. I have so many thoughts on how we make that performance better.
It's crazy. Another thing that I think is weird about this show is it almost feels like Mnet owes Young K a favor or something throughout the entire course of this song. We talk about Young K so much on this show, and I don't know why.
Young K was like, bro, I do so much.
It's crazy, actually.
Young K knows somebody.
It's crazy the amount of Young K that's on the show, because they also talk about him because he wrote Rose Blossom for High Key, and that's the song that started getting them more popularity.
Honestly.
It's a good song, and so
I enjoy it.
Young
K better at writing songs than
other people.
Making his own.
Yep.
For other people.
And so, like, Huiso and Rina will just call him up on the show and ask him for advice on stuff sometimes.
As if
he's just a friend they can have on speed dial.
Sure. For the show he is.
And then here he is again with this song and everything, and I'm just like, Young K really on this show way more than I would have originally thought he would ever be on this show.
I mean, Young K being on this show, period, is just, okay.
Also,
sure.
This is like not the first time we've gotten like a surprise Bobby on a survival show this year too. So Bobby
there's a lot of surprise Bobbies.
Bobby also keeping himself relevant in the year 2023. Because I do think that the Bobby song is the best of this round.
Yes.
I did not think it was gonna sound good given the preview that we were given, because it was like, I would love that song if Bobby just sang it, but then I heard the demo, and I was like, this sounds like it's gonna be bad, sung by women, but then when they actually did it, it was actually not bad, because the verses are like far better than what I was expecting them to be. So that song is pretty good. This Young K song, very boring. Like, nothing to say about it. It's fine, but it's like not a lot of anything going on here.
Young K does better work when it gets sold, not so much when it... Again, I always think with survival shows, you have to go into it with a definite level of like, this is not going to be anyone's top tier work. Because if it was, they wouldn't sell it to a survival show where it's going to get performed once and never again.
Right, exactly. And then the Ryan Jae Hoon wedding song.
Okay.
It's just like, what's going on here?
So, I have thoughts. I think the problem with this song is they don't go hard and they don't lean enough into wedding. So I watched this and I'm like, well, what are they gonna? My first thought was you showed me this song before it had been
right.
What's it called? Performed?
Yeah.
And my thought was like, if I swear to God, if they don't have lovely style bouquet mics,
right?
Because if you don't know, like by that point it was like mid lovelies, I would assume, right?
I think so.
they just started dressing like bridesmaids.
Yes.
And I like to call it the Lovely's bridesmaid era, which is like 2 songs.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're having a great time. But that was what I was expecting. They don't do that. There are veils, but they're not wearing anything resembling wedding or bridesmaid attire.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no goddamn bouquet mics.
Yes.
Which I understand because they need to dance. Fine. I think you put these girls in some short wedding dresses.
Mm-hmm.
You lean in.
Yeah.
Lean in. They don't lean in. Then that becomes disjointed and boring.
Right.
If you put them in some poofy wedding dresses. I'm not talking like gowns, but like some short little white dresses, little poof.
Yeah. I do.
The stage makes itself.
Yeah. My other problem with the song is it's too high pitched. Like it is.
It is.
It's high pitched to the point where it's hard to listen to.
Absolutely.
And this is like another one of those situations where Bora is like, yeah, Bora's hitting the notes, but she doesn't sound very like good while hitting the notes. Yeah.
No. Again, there's a difference between being able to and being good at it.
Right. So that is the semifinal round. We then eliminate, I think, seven people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people this time. In theory, we would have eliminated 7 in the first elimination had they not already lost 2 people. So it was like we eliminate 7 and then another 7. So in this one, we lose the rest of Cherry Bullet and Jiwon and Bora. And
the rest of Cherry Bullet.
We lose everyone in Weekly except for Jihan, so Sujin and Zoa.
Your favorite.
Yep. We lose Rina of High Key, Miru, and then Fi. Fi honestly did a way better on the show than I was expecting. She was never going to win because of the racism, because of a Thai person can literally never do well on any of these shows.
No, they can't. We'll get to it.
And Mnet gave her, like, a pretty good edit. Like, Mnet seemed to like her, too, but I don't think she ever stood, like, an actual chance. And she was not bad, either. She was pretty good in every performance she did. It was just she had no shot ever making this group. Rina was also pretty good. It was just that a lot of the high-key, like, screen time was going to Huiso instead, because Huiso is better than her, unfortunately. Yeah. But Rina was not bad. Miru I liked her in Produce 48 too, but she was just not up at the skill level that everyone else here was.
Yeah.
Sujin and Zoa, there were just too many members of Weekly on the show, honestly. There were 4 of them.
You kind of dilute out the fan base if they have to vote for like 6 people.
There were 4 of them, and for the entire show, essentially most of the screen time and like popularity was going to Jihan anyway, so I didn't expect any of them other than Jihan to really do well in the first place. And I did want to talk about just the really sad journey that Cherry Bullet went on over the course of this show. Because Jiwon and Bora also went on Girls Planet 999. Bora, I think, made the finale, but Jiwon did less well, but still did okay on the show. And so this is, like, not at all their first time on an Mnet survival show. And the 2 of them came into the show literally with the highest, like, ranking audition rounds, too. And they were, like, starting out at a high. Like, they won that first round and then went into the team battle, like, signal song thing, like, on top, leading both of those teams. And then, after that round, they started editing Bora, like, pretty badly. And then they just stopped showing Jiwon entirely. So it honestly kind of felt like Mnet
turned their back,
had it out for them, because it's like, okay, we've seen enough of both of you and Cherry Bullet before. Let's give some screen time to the new people. So the longer the show went on, it did feel just like they just got forgotten about. And so because they were just getting no screen time at all, I think that's what really ended up tanking them, because the show just stopped caring about them. And that's kind of really sad, watching them go from literally, like, the highest they could be on the show to getting eliminated right before the finale, because they just, like, the show just stopped caring that they were there.
Yeah. Seems like a lot.
Which is sad, but that's kind of the way these shows go sometimes, unfortunately. And there were, I guess, and I don't know if this is we talk about this as a girl group thing, there were, like, shiny, newer girl groups they wanted to, and people they wanted to highlight instead. And I think also because they came in and they did actually have this whole story about how Cherry Bullet and Rocket Punch have this like little fake rivalry because they debuted at the same time and they have such similar concepts and similar names and stuff like that. And everyone in Rocket Punch was doing really well on the show. And I think that kind of overshadowed what they were doing. And Chaerin was also not doing super well on the show. It was mainly just Juwon and Bora, so that's unfortunate for them.
I think the show just had too big of a cast.
There's a lot of people.
You cannot focus on people.
Especially when there are so many people from the same group as well. It's hard.
Because it's always going to be one person that rises to the top. Because it just seems like a lot.
Mm-hmm. And so after that is the finale. We do have a really bad filler episode in the middle that I did not even bother watching because I heard it was a waste of time from someone who did watch it and she told me not to watch it. Where it's like half the episode, they're just like reacting to the past performances. It's like, it's not even like we're doing like fun sports day. It's just like filled with nothing at all.
I don't like that they don't give these girl group shows fun sports days.
Right.
It just feels like let them have fun.
Right.
Something.
And so I just didn't even bother with that because it was completely inconsequential on the show. So then we get to the finale. We get 2 more original songs of the finale, Billionaire and Last Piece. Last Piece is a terrible song, number 1. The song sounds
Billionaire's not much better.
Bad. Billionaire has the opposite problem that I have with a lot of songs, where Billionaire feels like it's pitched too low for most of these girls to sing it. Like, it is pitched, like, abnormally low for a girl group song. And so I think if we pitched it, like, a little bit higher, the song would be better. But when I first listened to it, and I'm like, why is this so low? Like, and that's normally not a problem you ever see with girl group songs. And it was crazy to me that was the big problem with it. Also, because it was like a live finale situation, the mixing on these finale songs were so bad. Like, the audio leveling was so bad. And I'm like, I get it, it's a live finale or whatever, but I feel like I kind of expect Mnet to be a little bit better at it at this point, considering how many of these live finales they've done in the past. Like,
Mnet should be amazing by this point. Right? Dear God.
Alright, so after that, they do perform Charismatic and Snap again, except with all of the people. So with all, like, 14 people who are performing it, or I guess 13 because the 2 people left. So we do that to just fill some time in the finale. And then we announce the final 7 people in the group. And that ends up being Huiso of High Key, Nana of Wua, Yuki of Purple Kiss, Kay of Lovelyz, Yoram of WJSN, Yeonhee of Rocket Punch, and Yeon of CLC. That is completely unsurprising.
No, all of this seemed perfect. As someone who wasn't even watching the show, this feels like, oh yeah, these are the people I kept seeing and hearing about.
So we get, like, actual, like, live reveals of this group 3 times in the show. The only thing that changed is Jihan was in there in the first elimination, and then Yeonhee replaced her in the semifinal one, and then stayed there in the finale. Like, that is the only thing about that top 7 that changed even a little bit. Everything else was exactly the same, so it was completely unsurprising, and the group is honestly pretty okay. I would have liked probably Sooyeon or Ellie in the group over Yeon. Yeon is fine. Yeon's a fine performer, but she is, like, bad at rapping. Like, I know she's a rapper, but I don't think she's that good.
I
don't think she's very good at it. Yeah, Yuki and Yoram honestly better. And Sooyeon and Ellie I think would have added, like, another vocal, although the group with Huiso alone and Kay has already got pretty strong vocals, so it's not like they needed that, but I just liked the both of them better than Yeon. But all things considered, it's pretty balanced. It's not a bad group. Very curious what type of music they're gonna make, because I would have expected, given, like, most of the original songs they did on this show, they were gonna lean into more of a girl crush concept. But I know they released that teaser image for They Do recently, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna be like that. It feels like
that's not really where it's going.
It's not gonna be that, so I'm very curious to see what it will be. Because it's weird, because everyone in this group, except for I think Kay, can pull off the badass girl group concept. And then
Kay's
I look
gonna
at
look
this.
a little confused in the
Yes,
corner.
but then I look at that. Well, if they don't do badass, I think Yuki struggles with not doing badass, and Yeon also struggles with not doing badass. So it's like there's not really a middle ground here where everyone is gonna thrive. So
I do think that the one of the drawbacks of having debuted idols, all debuted idols, is that these girls have had years to cultivate what they're very good at.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like, if they were rookies are a little more malleable. Like, you have time. You can train a rookie.
Right.
These people are in. They got their concept.
And it's like some of the newer idols on this group, they wanted to do different concepts and stuff. And even some of the older idols, they're like, that's the thing they want to do is like, oh, I'm known for this, but I can also do all these other things. Sometimes they're good at that. Sometimes they're really bad at it. And sometimes they know.
And also then you have like Kay, who's just been doing this for so long. It's like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I know.
That's the same thing with Yeon too. Yeon did not do a single thing outside of what she has done in CLC her entire career. Like, Yeon very much knew, this is what I'm good at. These are the songs I'm going to do because I know I'm good at them. So, and look, that's not
honestly,
bad.
that does keep you at least from embarrassing yourself.
Exactly.
On television.
Right.
Which I think is what these girls least want to do.
Exactly.
Even above winning a show.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you ruin none of these girls are superstars. But, like, the little branding you have, if you ruin that for one Mnet show.
Right.
I think that's the least these people want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, but that was Queendom Puzzle, essentially. Wasn't a bad show.
For it being called one of the shadiest shows, I remember so many people thought it was shady.
It's not that shady.
It's like the least shady thing I've ever seen. These people seem like they're having a great time.
The only other shady part is in that team, the Kingdom round 3 part 1 round. I think they had to vote someone out of their team at some point in time, and that they had a whole editor on that. But it's like it was fine. Like, I think it ended up being the person who got that the worst was Soojin of Weekly, and I think it was very sad because she also ended up realizing that her team was voting for her, so she also voted herself out of the team.
Oh my god, that's so sad.
Like, that is kind of really sad. But she gets a nice edit around that, kind of having to build up her self-esteem afterwards. So I don't think they were like mean. It's like, whenever that stuff happens, like, they don't edit it to be mean to the person who is in that situation, which is a lot more than
going to these shows.
A lot of other shows would do. Yeah.
These aren't rookies. That's the other thing.
That's the
like
thing.
These are adults.
These are people
who
who
have
have
this for years.
They've established a career in some way. It's like when we're in situations like that, it's not the end of the world for them. Like, they've gone through the trainee system. They've been an idol. It's like, I don't. And
they've
I
had
feel
worse
like
things said
all of
to them
to an extent also realize that. So for people watching it to be mega upset at it, it's like, okay, they're gonna be fine. Like, it'll be okay. But yes,
right.
Shall we move on to Are You Next?
Sure. All right. So this show is B-Lift's new show. Making this group. What a group. Oh, we haven't even spoken about Level Up. Not Level Up.
Yes.
L's Up.
L's Up.
Wait. L's Up.
L's Up.
I keep calling him Level Up because I think L's is short for something.
Yeah,
nope.
It's a terrible name.
Level Up would have been a better name.
Yeah. And it was originally L's Up, and then U plus P for the up, and they eventually took that out, and I'm like, okay, it's better, but just by a little bit. Like, it's still bad, pretty much. Like, the rest of it is still bad.
Yeah. So, then for Are You Next's name isn't. It's equally as bad. It's equally as bad, if
not worse. Like, it's bad.
Might be worse, because it's permanent.
Yep.
That one's at least... I can understand using L's Up.
L's Up is at least a fun little side project for a little bit, and that's all that is going to be, so...
This is permanent. So, Are You Next had 22 contestants. Jiwoo, Funa, Moa, Chanel, Yuna, Minju, Jungyoon, Mocha, Jihyun, Ruka, Yewan, Jimin, Hyeowon, Youngso, Yuisa, Wonhee, Hassel, Eruna, Iris, Himina, Soyeon, and Ina. Only about 10, much like all of these shows, only about 10 people matter by the end.
Of course.
Because everyone becomes a side character. otherwise, some notable-ish trainees from before. Probably the most notable coming in was Ruka, who is heavily featured in that Lee Seraphim pre-debut documentary, which somehow also is the post-debut documentary that does not acknowledge that Garam was in the group ever.
Right, of course.
Very confusing.
Of course
she has more screen time than Garam does.
Of course.
But she was cut right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And also Minju is a former YG trainee, heavily thought to maybe have possibly gonna be in Baby Monster.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like the two big trainees. Some other trainees are also parts of other what's it called? Companies. We have people that were in SM, we have people that were in Adore, Source Music, but all of that, those were mainly the two I heard about coming into this show. So you get the audition stages, which is so since there's 22 of them, most of the audition stages have 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, Dreams Come True, has 4 because it's all of the children.
Of course.
It's all the children. There is a 12-year-old. That's the other person I wanted to mention. There is a 12-year-old, Ina. Trust me, she is not the worst person on the show. Somehow, many things about this show overshadow the fact that there's a 12-year-old on it.
Crazy.
But whatever. And then one group, When I Move, has one person who wasn't there because she had COVID. She didn't perform it. She had COVID. Unfortunate for her. So the way it works is much like how everything is. You do the first performance and then everyone has to be ranked high because you can't do ABC and you can't do there's other ones, but like this show decided to do high, medium, low. And the other thing was that within your group, only one of you could be high, medium, and low, except for the 4-person group, which I think ended up with 2 high people. So overall, a choice.
Okay.
To do that within the group, like, there were people that did phenomenal.
Right.
That ended up in low because they were in high.
It's really unfortunate.
It's unfortunate for them. It's not their fault.
A really weird way to set it up.
Right? So, the other thing I will say is that there is a 12-year-old in this group. The minute you, in age order, it goes 12, and then immediately, 15, 16 years old. Like, there is not there's no bridge there. That's cool. It. So they do all of the audition performances. Personally, Bad Boy's the best one, and Dreams Come True is the worst one, because Dream Come True has the 12-year-old.
Right.
Iris, who is not that good, and also Wonhee, who is not good, and I will maintain that forever. So then, and also it's, in When I Move, Yiwoon, who had COVID, immediately got put in low because she wasn't there.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Unfortunate for her, but hey, that's life.
That's life.
That's life. So then they get their first, it's technically round 2. I'll go with round 2 because that's how they divide it, which is called the death match. So essentially, since you're in high, medium, and low, they get split up into, there's 3 songs. It's going to be 2 groups from 2 different levels. This is the most complicated thing to explain. And I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense because I needed to listen to it twice to fully get it. So the girls are re-ranked into high A and mid A. It's mid A, high A, low A, and then low B, mid B, high B. Essentially, you're re-ranked into those categories, and then 2 of you have to do one performance. So it's mid A and low B doing Lee Seraphim's Fearless, high A, mid B doing Attention, and high B, low A doing Given Taken. I'm not getting into who's in each performance because now I'm getting myself confused.
It's a lot. The system is a lot.
This round is the most confusing round I've ever seen. And then how you're scored is that each girl within that, because the way the performance works is that okay, one group does one part of the song, the other group does the other one, and then you go do the last chorus together. And it's
Which
great.
is also
So
a
it's
confusing
solo
way
and
to
together.
set up the performance
Yes.
as well.
So then each girl is individually ranked 1 through 100. And then the average of it's 4 people per group. The average of those 4 people is the team score. And then whichever team within those 2 gets the higher score is the winner of the match.
Uh-huh.
That was one of the
wild stuff.
So, in Fearless, mid A beats low B. That means nothing to, like, K. In New Jeans Attention, high A beats mid B, and then in Hypen's Give and Taken, high B beats low A. To be honestly, low B was better in Fearless, in my opinion. That's my opinion. But honestly, a lot of these are fine. The only notable thing that happens is that there's the first bit of drama.
Uh-huh.
So one of the girls in Give and Taken just falls flat on her butt.
Uh-huh.
Just falls. And it's because, I think at one point, because it's a double performance, one group is out there, and, like, a piece of jewelry from, like, the high B team, I think her choker falls off. And then that causes one of the other girls in low A to, I think it's Iroha, but it's whatever. She just trips on it and falls. And then it's a whole thing of they gotta, like, figure out, like, okay, you tripped on what? Did they... And I'm like, are you trying to imply that someone like, sabotaged? Fuck off. Fuck off, everybody.
Oh my God.
So, after this... Because I want this round to be over. I'm running through it because I hate it. Because it confuses me.
It's so confusing, and for what?
I hate it. They re-rank all the girls. So they re-rank them. It's a high, medium, and low. And then only the girls in low are up for elimination. And I didn't fully know this going in. But apparently it's a one-person elimination. Because they only got rid of Ursa. That's it. One girl got eliminated, and I'm like, that's cruel.
That was
to eliminate
a lot
one
to do that
person
entire round for one person
to go home. So the next round is easy. The next round is much easier. So it is like a double. It's called the all-rounder performance. They are divided into 3 units, 7 members each, and each of them are going to do 2 concepts. It's heel choreography and hip-hop choreography. And then the heel choreography also includes a prop. So you got Chunga's Dream of You, which had cane choreography, FX's Four Walls, which had fans, and then Girl Generation's The Boys, which had a hat. Thank God The Boys won, because, dear God, is it the best one by a mile. I will say, I do like that we brought back heel choreo. I don't know how this is going to greatly affect the group long term, because I don't fully know what concept we're going to go for, given the lineup we chose.
Yep.
But we'll get to that.
Well, we'll see.
I will say, this is beginning to be where certain things start to come out, which is, one, that Chanel is amazing and I love her. Loved her from the beginning. Love her. This is also, especially in this Dream of You before, not that it wasn't super obvious in her audition stage, but one, he looks terrified in Dream of You specifically. She has this thing where she's just, it looks like she's looking into your soul. I don't know. It's honestly, in my mind, I hope that she looks blank. And that's more of the problem, is she either looks scared or blank.
There looks like there is nothing behind her eyes. Like, it is a little bit scary.
At least if I could tell that she was like, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, like she was counting beats. Like, no, it looks like there's nothing there.
Nothing happening.
And I understand that she has only been training for a month, but also the other issue is the fact that I don't know if it's because they have much lower expectations for her. But these judges seem to give her so much leeway, and you see that starting here and through the rest of the show, where they will praise her for things when she's dead-eyed looking at the camera. Straight at the camera. Dear God, straight at camera. And then other people get criticized for things that are like minor in comparison. Just saying.
Makes you think if there's like nepotism involved.
There's supposed nepotism involved.
That's always my go-to if so, like a situation like that.
I mean, it's
gotta be nepotism.
Honestly,
right?
I hope, truly speaking, I hope there's nepotism involved because at least that's a reason. At least I want a fucking reason, damn it. Also, I forgot to mention the way they picked all these teams was that within each level, high, medium, and low, they picked the top ranking girl, and then that girl got to they basically were like, okay, stand behind the person you want to work with, and they all figured it out amongst themselves. It was fine. But, so, then the second part of this all-rounder challenge is to do a hip-hop performance. Again, something else that I don't think is super going to be useful to this group long-term, but I understand that on these shows, you're just, like, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
We got a surprise Jay Park cameo to teach them about hip-hop.
Oh, boy, love that. Jay Park.
Jay Park, super useful, man.
Super useful.
He's doing great. He's here. He didn't give them great advice. I don't even think he gave them any advice. So the songs are G-Idol, My Bag, CL's Tie a Cherry, a song I didn't know existed. Because I have not been keeping up with CL's solo career in the last couple of years. And then Lisa's Money. All three of these are very different hip-hop songs with very different strengths. I will say, I kind of love both. That Money performance is amazing in the way that it made me like the song Money, which I realized maybe Lisa's the problem and not the song. Right, I don't know. Maybe. I'm now very confused about my thoughts on Money. But that happened. Tie a Cherry is really good. I really enjoyed that. And CL, I don't really enjoy the CL version. I'll give it that. But I wouldn't like that song anyway. It's not for me. And then we get to My Bag. My Bag is a good song. I enjoy that song. I don't know what happened here.
Oh, God.
It had all of the wrong people to do this song.
Oh, no.
Because you had Wanhee, the beginning there.
Of course.
You also have people like Ruka, who don't fit this concept. Even like a Jimin a little bit. Like pure hip hop concept, especially for like rookie girl groups, is hard to pull off. And it doesn't work. And this song specifically, I don't know, it was because the other two groups figured it out. This group did not. The vibes were really off. Wanhee was dead staring at me the whole time.
Of course.
It was a lot.
Oh, no.
Also, at some point during all of this, I think Iris kind of starts to give up a little bit.
Aww.
So, there's two Thai girls in the show. It's Iris and Moa. Both of these girls, it's official. Thai contestants can't do well on these shows, officially.
Do well on Korean survival shows. They cannot do well.
I mean, this show more, like, in terms of the girls' talent-wise, I understand, especially Iris. But, like, really, it's just none of them. None of the shows. We can't get a single Thai kid. A single one.
We're 0 for, like, I don't even know how many this year on Thai contestants.
This year?
Yeah. So many.
3? 4. Every single show we've watched this year.
There were 2 or 3.
There were 2 on Boys Planet.
2 on
there were
Fantasy
2
Boys.
On Fantasy Boys. There are 2 here.
And 1 on Queendom Puzzle, so
if you count individual people, that's 7.
We're 0 for 7.
This year. And that's been going on for every other show ever. So that was that. And then Money does win, which I do like because it has the best people.
Nice.
And then, so there is another elimination. Hustle, Iris, and Anna, who is the 12-year-old, do go home. I fully expected that because at no point were they calling this 12-year-old the next... Like, the 12-year-old I saw from the beginning was here to, like, gain some experience, more so.
Right.
As opposed to, like, a Wanhee who they were pushing.
Here, yeah.
Yeah. So those 3, perfectly fine, and an elimination people were expecting. So the next is the vocal dance battle, the specialist battle. So you're divided into 2 vocal songs, 2 dance songs. They got Baekhyun's Across the Universe, which had Jiwoo, Yuna, Junghyun, and Wonhee. Also, every time there's elimination, they are re-ranking these girls. I stopped paying attention because it did not matter. Fair. The only thing that matters is only the girls in low have even a chance of being eliminated.
Right.
And then Taeyeon Spark, which had Yiwon, Minju, Chanel, and Soyeon. Look, I think Spark is cursed.
It's cursed. It's a cursed song.
It's a cursed song.
It's a cursed song for survival shows.
Because I think Spark is actually a very good song. My thing with it is that, much like how they did in Kingdom Legendary War, it's always used as a purely vocal song, and only for a vocal evaluation. They put it up against a pure ballad, and that song is not a ballad.
Right.
So it's always going to lose the ballad when it is overall a much more interesting performance.
Right.
It's a more fun performance. Also, side note, Woozy's a guest judge on this
nice. Good for him.
On this episode. He actually sounded like he knew what he was talking about. I'll get to the judging in a minute. Mainly when I started talking about fan reaction.
Yes.
Because there was a lot going on with the show.
Oh boy.
So that happened. Obviously, Across the Universe wins because it's a ballad.
Right. Ballad always wins that.
Ballad always wins. So then we get to the dance battle, which is more interesting. So we get After School's Bang, which had Youngso, Eroha, Haewon, Ruka, and Moa. And then we have Wonder Girls Tell Me, which had Jihyun, Jimin, Himena, Mocha, and Funa. Tell Me is one of the most charming little performances I've ever seen. It's so cute. They were having so much fun. They win, and I was very happy for them. Not that Bang is bad. We keep having to get Bang. I mean, I like it. Bang keeps getting covered once every, 4 or 5 years, as it should. It's a staple song. It's very good.
It's a great song to cover.
It is. It's also, I think, a very easy song to cover because there's nothing super, there's no super big high notes. It's all, it's more of a cheer than a sing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works really well. Not knocking it. I think it's great. I also think overall both of the dance performances were stronger than the vocal performances. And I also just think that's because they picked more interesting performances to do. I also think vocal performances a lot of times can get boring because it is just people standing and singing.
Right.
But that's just me.
Right.
And we're notoriously not ballad people.
The vocal performances, especially because there's so many ballads, and I just can't care about ballads.
Yeah, and also I think it's Ruka almost falls in Bang too, so that's also probably why they lost. Someone stumbled a little bit. Oh no, I think it's Iruha. I think she almost falls.
Oh no,
which is unfortunate for her. She's good. I think a lot of people are fine. I just think that a lot of that is a stumble. That is not quote unquote sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get another elimination. And then we have Yeowon, Moa, and Ruka all eliminated, which was the first surprise because I think a lot of people expected Ruka to do quite well, especially with her Lee Seraphim connection.
Right.
But also, I do not think that she was the direction that they thought this group was going to go. I don't think she was going to fit. See, the thing with her, and all of my negatives about her are negatives I can say about people that actually made the group, because I do think she has quite a limited frame of what I think she's comfortable doing.
Yeah.
She likes the more elegant she did Dum Da Da Dum by A-Pink for her audition song, and I think that's the kind of concept I think she's very good at. And I don't know if that's the direction they wanted this group to go, but then again, with the lineup we got, I don't know. So this next round is what I like to call, it's like Fantasy Boys round 2, which is, this is what they called the concept game.
Oh, of course.
So essentially, there's 3 doors. There is a green door, a purple door, and a red door. And then on that door, there are pictures of different girl groups. So on the green door is a picture of 21. On the purple door, there's a picture of Oh My Girl. And on the red door, there's a picture of specifically all of Red Velvet. It is all of Red Velvet.
Right.
Keep that in mind.
Yes, keep that in mind.
And
everybody.
so essentially you go from lowest to highest ranked. You go and you open a door and you go in, and then if someone higher ranked than you also goes in the door, they can kick you out. There wasn't really too much drama there. It was fine. They all figured it out. But so it turns out that the green door is doing I Don't Care by 21. Purple is doing the 5th season by Oh My Girl. And then the red door is specifically Monster by the Red Velvet subunit of Irene and Solgi. Why was all member Red Velvet? That felt like a bait and switch.
Super misleading on purpose.
Bait and switch right there.
And the same way that Fantasy Boys was also a bait and switch in some of those costumes.
Yes. So this is where we start to get some drama. There was no drama in I Don't Care. That was just my favorite performance of the whole show.
Yeah.
They were having the most fun. They were, it was Youngso, Jihyun, Jimin, Minju, and Haewon. Having a great time. Lovely. All of them fit the concept. All of them were doing a great time. Another group that had, like, no drama, really, was Monster, which had Jiwoo, Iruha, Yuna, Junghyun, and Funa. There was actually no drama amongst these people. My drama is with what the hell did they do to the song? They made it, they remixed it into, like, this weird, like, rock song. It felt like the instrumental was not matching the actual song. I don't know what they did.
And it was like the mixing is the problem. And I'm like,
bad?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that performance.
Honestly, I quite like their singing. I like all the people in this group. It was fine. They were good. The problem really was the mixing. It wins, and I can understand it winning because they're judging the performers and not, like, something they have no control over, which is the instrumental of a song they didn't even know they were performing from a door that was entirely misleading. Like, really deck stacked against them, honestly, but I get it. So I can understand what happened there. And then we get to Oh My Girl, which is the 5th season, the purple door. It had Soyeon, Himina, Chanel, Mocha, and Wonhee. Okay, so it's an Oh My Girl song. It's a difficult song to sing. Oh My Girl has great vocalists. Yes. It's also an ethereal concept. It's a good time for everybody. Here's the thing. So they give Chanel the rap parts. They give her all of Mimi's parts, which is fine. She's one of the, like, she can do it. She did very well at it. And then they give Wonhee, who is apparently, like, main vocal material. They keep praising her vocals. At some point, they are just trying, the judges and Wonhee are trying to push more and more of the song onto Chanel. And Chanel gets pissed, as she should. There was this viral clip, and they used it in the marketing, of, like, her kind of snapping at Wonhee. And I'm like, I agree with her, because it's your part.
Right.
Do your part. I fully understand. And it also is at this point that Chanel starts to look so sad. Yeah. And I felt so bad. I showed you a clip of Chanel and you're like...
Every time you showed me her, I was like, she looks like she's going through an awful time on this show.
I felt so bad for her because I fully understand her frustration and I get it. Because Wonhee can't do the part. So I'm like, then why are you giving Wonhee the whole part?
Right.
Why is she here? Why are you praising her, for one? And also, why are you trying to pass the bucket? If she's going to fail, let her fail.
Right.
That's what these shows are for. Like, let them fail and let them get eliminated. That's what, isn't that, like, this is...
Is that not what this is
This is a competition. Yeah. To quote Jessie, I'm not here to make friends. This is a competition. I don't get it. And then also, as a lot of people have pointed out, and you can argue about it all you want, but Wonhee very greatly relies on the backing track for most of that song.
Yeah.
Greatly relies on it because she is not hitting that high note.
Yeah.
Not even trying. So then in a surprise other bit, each of these groups then sends a representative to do the black mission, which is then essentially for each person to... So the green team sends Youngso, purple sends Himina, and red sends Iruha to do Blackpink Shutdown. I don't fully know why we did this. It felt kind of pointless.
It seems confusing.
But it was a good performance. I enjoyed it. Iruha wins. Good for her. That was fun.
Cool.
It was a good time. It really was just a waste of an episode, I think.
Yeah.
you gotta fill time.
You do. You do a lot of fill-in time on these shows.
You do. And then we get an elimination. Soyeon, Funa, and Haewon are eliminated. Can you notice I have yet to say any of the people that are involved in drama?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Really. None of the people involved in drama have been eliminated yet. So now we finally reached the semifinals. Finally, I'm trying to breathe. I'm trying to run through the actual show, because really all the fun parts happened outside of the show. So it is the original songs. So it's a twofold. It's like 2 original songs, and they also have to do another bit of covers. And I'm like, why?
Of course.
Why are we doing this? So it's Pride, which is Jimin, Chanel, Yuna, Jihyun, Youngso, and Himina. And then Scrum. I still can't get over that title.
That's a title for a song.
Which is Junghyun, Wonhee, Jiwoo, Iruha, Minju, and Mocha. The thing with this is also that they are divided into these 2 songs by the judges of because they audition and then they're divided.
Yeah.
And would you like to know a little bit of shade, which is also why everyone says the show's rigged, which it kind of is, but also is very funny, is that Jiwoo, who's in Scrum, and Chanel, who's in Pride, wanted to switch.
Uh-huh.
Because they were both getting critiqued for what they're doing in that song.
Right.
And they're like, well, I really want to do Pride and you really want to do Scrum. Do you want to switch? And the judges did not let them.
Sad.
This was very early in the, of them doing all of this.
Right.
And they were just not allowed to. And I'm like, that's okay, sure. But then they proceeded to, be extremely harsh on them. Both of them. That they didn't really fit the concept. And I'm like, yeah, because you put them in the wrong concept. What are you talking about?
Explicitly told you that.
What is wrong with you people? I feel like I'm taking you know how I said how a lot of those eliminations on Queendom Puzzle were like, well, at least you felt like you weren't taking crazy pills.
Right.
Through this whole show, I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I'm like, am I the insane one? Am I the deaf one? What's going on? Yes. Also, it's also one of those where you can tell just from, there's only 2 songs. There's really not a lot of competition, but you can really tell how it was going to go from the beginning. Because it's like, well, yeah, Scrum is the more conventionally good song. It's more the most conventional song. So of course that's going to win. And it did.
Right.
The way I would describe Pride and the way I described Kayla was it's in the same vein of if you did a girl crush version of Switch and Snacks. Mm-hmm. Switch from Boys Planet, Snacks from Boys Fantasy.
Right.
And originally you were like, I don't know what that means. And then you listen to it and you're like, I got what it means.
I got it. I get it.
It's exactly what that is.
Yes.
Great. At some point, I have notes on here, and I just wrote, these judges have absolutely no respect for Chanel.
Uh-huh.
Which is hilarious, because they don't.
That's very sad.
They had no respect for her. Also, at one point, this was the funniest thing, because I did start laughing. When Scrum was being performed, it was you saw, I showed you parts of that song.
Yes, yes.
It was fine.
It was fine.
Right? Would you like to guess what the judges did? They cried.
They cried.
They cried. They were like, oh, I'm so proud of all of you. You did them. I'm like,
what?
Real? This?
What?
This is what we cry. This is where we cry. They cried. Of course they cried.
Okay.
I was like, this is bullshit. It's so bad. And then Chanel and Jihyun are eliminated, and I cried.
Uh-huh.
I didn't cry. I actually didn't cry, but I was angry.
At that point
Chanel
in time,
looked angry.
At that point in time, I think Chanel, like people could see the Chanel one coming, but still.
Yeah. Oh, I did forget to talk about 11 and Feel Special. So, Pride team did 11. Scrum team did Feel Special. Of course, Feel Special ones. Everyone's little favorites were in that.
Yeah.
I will say one thing that people got super upset about, and I was also a little upset, which is where I think I wrote, these judges have no respect for Chanel.
Uh-huh.
So she does the beginning chorus part of 11,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that she was off-key.
Uh-huh.
And then when you listen to it and you compare it, I'm like, are you also saying that Ive was off-key? Because that's exactly how I... Like, it's identical.
Yeah.
Like, is Ive also off-key? Because, like, this is where we are now.
They must have
thoughts.
something against her.
They do, and I think it's racism.
Yeah.
Because Chanel has the J problem of we're on the J, we're on the Samuel.
Yep.
Even though I think she is half white, but like
still,
the only one that's worked out was Somi.
I know.
And that was like 6 years ago.
I know.
It's been longer than 6 years.
It's been a long ass
When was
time.
that?
2016.
It's been a very long.
So 8 years?
8 years. Damn. 8 years. It's been 8 years since it's worked out. And who watched Produce? I mean, everyone watched Produce season 1, but like that was not like survival shows have come such a long way since Produce season 1.
The recent K-pop fans probably haven't seen that, so because where do you even find that anymore?
Where do you? Oh my god, where would you find Produce season 1? It's got to be somewhere.
I'm sure it's on like K-Show 1, 2, 3 or some shit like that.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, they have absolutely no respect for Chanel, and I'm very upset.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get to the finale. In the finale, we have the song. They do 2 more songs. So they do Aim High and Desperate. I love having a song called Desperate
in the finale of your show.
In your finale of your show.
Sending a message, I guess.
So Aim High is a cute little what's it called? Cheerleader concept.
Oh, yes.
Desperate is a more like badass girl crush, kind of sci-fi, weird little thing. They're both fine. Honestly, they're subpar songs, but I think most finale songs are subpar because, except for Jelly Pop, icon of our time. But like, I think most finale songs are like the least amount of effort you put because they don't actually mean anything.
Yeah, they're there to fill time in the finale.
Yep. So, I think we got to... Oh, and then they also do... So, the signal song for this, much like how IU did the signal song for Island, Suzy did the signal song for Are You Next?
Of course.
Worse.
Yeah.
It's exactly how that sounds.
It's definitely a worse song.
It's worse.
Worse Into the Island.
Worse Into the Island.
Yep.
It's not the worst thing. It's maybe one of the better things Susie's done.
But it's not IU.
It's worse Into the Island. It's not IU. Definitely not IU. Maybe this... Did they also trade... No, they traded Suga to get Into the Island. What did they trade for... What did they trade Suzy? Because she can't get Suga.
Yeah.
Did they trade, like...
I don't know.
No, I don't think it's good enough for 17. Did they trade, like, a Becco feature?
Maybe.
Something like that.
I don't follow Suzy enough to know what...
I don't follow Suzy at all. I'm just thinking what would be the equivalent of the fact that for, like, right after she did Into the Island, IU got to, like, get, like, Suga to produce, like, 3 songs.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what Suzy got in return.
Right.
But, yeah. So that happens. And then we get the... I will say, give one... you know how you said that the, eliminations, every elimination for Queendom Puzzle seemed like the finale.
Mm-hmm.
Every elimination for Are You Next was about 10 minutes long.
More shows should do that,
like,
honestly.
they just got these girls out of there fast. Also, they did it the worst way possible. Why would you start by announcing your number 1 pick first?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter in a case like that.
It doesn't, but also I feel like the number 1 pick is always, like, saved for last, but I don't know.
But also, I guess because it's, like, half of it, some of them were voting and some of the, like, were judges, it was, like, weird like that, I don't know.
Fair enough. Look, so the group I wanted, should we, because I have 3 lists here. It's the group, it's my favorite girls. It's the group I was hoping we were gonna get on... finale on like finale night and the group we actually got. What do you want to start with?
Let's see. I want your favorites first.
So my favorites, my top 6 were Chanel, Himina, Jimin, Youngso, Minju, and Jiwoo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my favorites. I put those were my top 6. I knew for a fact Himina was not gonna get in there, and nor did I really like. She's my favorite. Do I think she should have been in the group? Probably not. I do think she still needed a little bit more work. The group I thought, like, the best group I thought we could get was Mocha, Jimin, Youngso, Yuna, Minju, and Jiwoo. Mm-hmm. Still most of my favorites in there. And it's, honestly, I was expecting, like, there's, like, having this group and weirdly without, like, a Jimin in there, she was doing so well through that whole show.
Yeah.
it shocked me that she didn't make it. But the thing is, if you look at, like, the voting announcements, she was 4th in voting. But because it was a 4 done by production, 2 done by the people.
Right.
The only 2 that the people got to pick were Won-hee and Youngso. And then the other 4 were picked by production. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Right.
And I do think they only picked Mocha just because they were like, we can't have an all-Korean group and technically still call ourselves an international group. Because really, for an international group, they only had...
It's very Korean.
It's one, very Korean, and also, even in terms of, like, from the 22 kids we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Japanese kids, 2 Thai girls, and 2 people that were Korean American, and then everyone else was just Korean.
Yeah.
And they were getting rid of those Japanese girls, like, immediately. It was insane. So let's get to the group we ended up getting. So Won-hee came first.
Crazy.
So she's first in Korean voting. All vote, because let's be honest, in the finale, Korean voting counted, like, international voting only counted for, like, 30% of the overall vote, and that's insanely low.
Yeah.
Like, wild. Korea, this is exactly the kind of person Korea loves. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense, but it's the kind of idol Korea enjoys.
Yep.
Though it is also the kind of idol that Korea immediately turns on as a punching bag. And which is what I feel like they're going to do to this girl, because once she debuts and she's not actually a trainee and she's still
and she's in a K-pop
like
group,
that,
actually, yeah.
They're going to turn on her.
Yep.
And this is just something that Korea does all the time.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate for her, but also, like, Korea, why do you do this?
Crazy, actually.
It's wild.
Insane behavior.
Unhinged behavior, I say. Then we got Youngso, who has just been solid through the whole show. Liked her the whole time. Minju, our former YG trainee, solid the whole show, was always up there. She actually came 3rd in the voting. Great. We got Eruha, who was at one point 1st in voting. Like, she'd done well, but had been dropping off slowly in terms of how the voting worked. But that's fine. What else we got? We got Mocha, who is our, I think, only international... Wait, let me make sure of that. I gotta check one person. Is she our only international member? No. Iroha is also Japanese, so there's 2 international members. Hey, 2/6, 1/3. Could be worse.
1/3 is like the cutoff for a lot of groups, where that's about as international of a group as we can be. 1/3.
Yeah. I do want to know what we're going to do with this 1/3 where none of you speak English.
Yep.
So many thoughts.
Yep.
So little time. And then Yuna, who has just been going... Again, she's been steadily good throughout the whole show. Like, there's people that have been steadily good. There's people who've been steadily shit, but still got in the group. Who's to say? Again, if you made it this far, bona fide haters. Both of us. Take that with pride. All right, so people, I want to talk a little bit about, we're done with the show. That's the show.
Right.
That's what objectively happened on the show. Now let's talk about what subjectively happened outside the show.
Right.
So, there has been a word, and I don't know if I want to say this word because I feel like YouTube doesn't want me to say this word, that people have been calling these judges, and I think we use that word too liberally in the K-pop community. Do you know what word I'm talking about? Starts with a P.
No.
Ends with an edophile.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. A lot of people have been throwing
Weird.
that word around because of this show. Because I think it's mainly because Won-hee is like, how old is she? She's 16. And technically the oldest member of this group is 19.
Right.
But the oldest member that this group could be is 21. So, like, really, we're not that much lower. Like, realistically, but most of these kids are 19, 18. Youngest is 16.
Which, that's enough. I feel like 16 is like a perfectly acceptable
Perfectly reasonable age to debut.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And then also, it's just been like, oh, well, they're creepily smart. I'm like, yeah, the girls are performing. Do you want them to stare stone-faced at them? What's going on? Also, I do think it also had to do with, I can't imagine these are correlated, but a lot of people thought they were. So a lot of the two main, like, okay, let's talk about some of the judges. The judges included Kim Jae-hwan, whom no one cared about.
Here?
I don't care about him.
Why is he here? He's so confusing.
He was none of the good or problematic judges, to be honest. Like, there were good and there were also problematic judges. He was neither, and he was present. He was there. Can say. He was there. Jo Kwon was also there, and I think he had a good time doing a female show. Mm-hmm. Good for him.
Great.
He wore higher heels than those girls did when he was helping them with the heel choreo, and I love that for him. I like that they did heel choreo and then never brought the heels back for any other performance.
Of course not.
Because also, like, that's just been the trend of K-pop. Because if you go back, because we've been doing our, like, best of every year series, going back to, like, second gen, especially early second gen, every girl group was always in heels. And we're talking, like, 4-inch, 5-inch heels is a lot. But, like, these girls, and now they've just, like, the heels have gone down and everyone's in boots.
Right.
Which, you know, probably better for the current level of K-pop dancing.
Right.
But still, it's very funny that I'm like, we're gonna bring back heels with this group? Mm-hmm. No, we're not. Look at this lineup. Wonhee can't walk. Wonhee can't walk in heels. Wonhee looks like a baby deer who's just learning to walk for the first time.
Yeah, Wonhee definitely can't dance in heels.
So that's the thing. The main people that got criticism mainly is one. It's Lee-hyun. So I like how this man's trajectory has changed in the last 2 years.
Yep.
Because before the last 2 years, I don't think anybody knew who he was because he was just the other HYBE artist,
the resident old man of HYBE.
I don't think even people did. They're like, oh, BTS only HYBE artists. I'm like, not the only one, but the only one still consistently making music.
Right.
And then we got that, like, game caterers or whatever it's called last year with all the HYBE artists. Yes. And he was great. He was having such a fun time. And then he does this show and people call him that word. I think he also grew a weird mustache, to be honest. It was not a flattering look.
It's not helping the mustache.
It didn't help. But also at the same time, he also then shaved it for the finale. Okay. Which, again, I don't know if there's a correlation or a causation here. Right. But it's very funny that conveniently he didn't have it only for the finale after everything else had aired. That's hilarious. So I'm like, did he hear? Mm-hmm. Did he hear us? Does he know? Maybe. But this show has been very much talk of blatant favoritism, and there has been, very much so.
Yeah.
My thought with this is that finally, when the group was announced, is when I started hearing the trickles of, well, HYBE always had the idea. I don't think the judges were able to say what they wanted. I'm like, you didn't think of this 3 months ago? Like, you thought that, like, what?
You didn't go into that show thinking that to begin with.
Maybe it's just because we're old and jaded, Kayla, but, like, everything is... Every time I think
about... It's like, I guess we have to remember that any survival show is someone's first survival show.
Probably. It's just exhausting, because I'm like, yeah, all these judges are being prompted. They're like, okay, this girl's got to make the finale. And, like, you think that they're the ones voting on these girls? They probably have input. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there are honestly more qualified people than this. I would not be surprised if there are, like, essentially K-pop casting directors.
Yeah.
People whose job it is to be like, these are the trainees, these are what we need, these are the girls available, girls and boys available, make the group. Mm-hmm. Who are better equipped for that.
Yes.
As opposed to, I don't know, fucking Kim Jae-hwan. I don't trust him to make a K-pop group, just like I don't trust the people to make a K-pop group. Mm-hmm. A permanent one at that. So I think the main problem with this show is I think if it was literally this lineup had just switched out Wonhee.
Right.
Because I would switch out, like, 3 people in this group. I think it's fine. But, like, there's other people I would have preferred. I think specifically just how much Wonhee was not criticized for her obvious... Mm-hmm. I think that the main thing is just that, like, sure, Korea can keep voting for this girl. I think that the thing I think that needed to happen was that I think the judges, the easiest way for Hype to get rid of this problem is for the judges to critique her.
Mm-hmm.
Critique her for her lack of stage presence, critique her for her subpar vocal ability, and her stiff dancing, because, yeah, sure, people say, well, her vocals are good. They're not. They're shaky at best. And, like, she's improved on her dancing. She hasn't. She slips a lot.
Right,
She's very
right,
shaky.
right.
Look at some of her look at her.
Just look
even
at her.
look at her in that Aim High performance.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime she's in the background behind somebody, her moves are like, you know how it's always you have to give 110% even if you're a background character?
Right.
You have to give 100%. Either she's not, or the moves are very difficult for her.
Mm-hmm.
Either when she's not on and front and center, she's not giving it her all, or she's still very shaky. It could be either one. Maybe it's both. Who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I will say, like, one of my favorites was Himena. I don't think Himena was ready to debut.
Mm-hmm.
I think she needs a little more training, and then she'll be great. But she, at the very least, knew to be on when she was on stage. Also, a lot of people say that in those finale performances, he finally got a facial expression. No, she didn't. She smiled. She didn't have a blank face, but the eyes were still very blank. Mm-hmm. Look at the eyes. Don't just look at the face. Look at the whole face, buddy. Just because her mouth moved does not mean she got a facial expression.
Yeah, that's two different things there.
The eyes, man.
Very
the eyes
different.
are really the important part. If you want to look happy, it starts from, like, remember COVID? We couldn't see anybody's face, but you could tell a lot from the eyes.
You could.
You can tell a lot from just the eyes.
It's honestly kind of impressive how she is able to
How
look
blank
like
the
that
eyes are?
always. Yeah.
It's a lot. Even, like, when she won, there was not much expression, and I'm like, is she okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just, that also added to the nepotism
Right.
thoughts of, like, she knew.
She knew.
It was a lot. I'm not saying nepotism, but others have said it, and I'm not going to try to disprove it.
Right.
That's my opinion on the nepotism.
I mean, we don't know for sure that it is, but we also
You
don't
can't
know
prove
for
she's
sure
not.
that it isn't. So, you know.
Look, you can't prove it's not nepotism.
Yes.
You can't prove it is, but you can't prove it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get into the ever-long debate of her. The thing is, the rest of this lineup is fine. I would switch Iruha and maybe Mocha for people that have been eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people I would switch in have been, like, long gone from this show. But I think from the girls left, I think this is a perfectly good lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Jimin was in here.
Right.
I wish other people were in here, but for the most... I wish Jiwoo should have been in here.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous that she wasn't. And I don't think it was because of her age. I just want to know what direction they're going to take this group in, because now I don't know.
Right.
Because you have people in it that have a very limited range, like a Wonhee.
Right.
Look at the Maybach performance. They can't do that.
Ooh.
Look at most of these look at the Dream of You performance. That's out too. There's so much that's out because of limited abilities of certain people. But realistically, I think that the lineup is bad for multiple reasons. I also think that these kind of shows realistically should have bigger groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I do think that
I feel
the
like
fact that this is only six
that
people
seems
is
really,
so small.
That does seem really small. 6.
My thing with it is that no matter what happens, you're gonna cut people that people love. Even though my top 6, my personal top 6 is to take out Himena and put Yuna in there,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the, like, overall everyone's favorites are, like, kind of those 6 people.
Right.
But, like, no matter what you do with a 6-person group, you're going to be... It's so small.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do these kind of shows and it's going to have some public aspect to it...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if it doesn't have a public aspect to it, I think 6 people is too small to do a survival show with.
Yeah,
You're going to cut so many
Yeah.
people that people have an enjoyment to. You're going to cut so many talented people
Mm-hmm.
that then you just end up with people being angry. Rightfully or not rightfully so, but I do think that, like, if you want to do these kind of shows,
Mm-hmm.
the group does need to be a little bit, at least 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think 7 is the bare minimum. Thinking about, like, back to Island and everything, I think 7's the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Because you add
6 does
what?
feel a little bit too small.
6 feels way too small. I don't know, man. It just feels... I don't know how I feel about this show. I've talked about it for, like, the last half hour.
Uh-huh.
And I still don't know how I feel.
It also ended very recently, so...
It also ended yesterday?
Yeah.
We're 24...
I've had time to mull over Queendom Puzzle by this point. Like, Are You Next, like, the still fresh.
Okay, so as someone who didn't watch the show, what do you think about all of this?
Oh, weird show, honestly. Format, pretty weird for a survival show, but also Hybe has done pretty weird survival shows, so I guess that's not unnormal for them.
Yeah.
The only thing I had ever known about the show was that, one, he was bad, and then she's in the group. So that's all I really ever knew about it.
And then immediately she made it into the group.
Yep, immediately made it into the group. Also, the name is bad, but the Queendom Puzzle name is also bad. So,
but this is worse because it's permanent.
It is. I also do think it's a worse. I also think it's a worse name too, because like
it is a worse name overall.
What
absolutely,
does it mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
I should not be putting apostrophes in the middle of the word.
We don't need that.
Hate it. God, I'm rewatching the My Bad performance. She really is just staring into your soul.
No.
It's a lot.
That's like
I need to stop talking about this group.
It's like that's also my least favorite genre of K-pop idol is the dead behind the eyes. Like
the fact that there's so many of them.
Yeah.
There's multiple of them.
I know.
And you know the unfortunate part? Mm-hmm. Because of how few and non-existent the girl group debuts of the year have been, they might be one of the better ones.
I know, because we don't have anything right now. We've got nothing.
Nothing. Nobody.
Nothing.
And also, like, just for reference, we don't count any of the Luna re-debuts because they already debuted and they already debuted together. Like, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Triple S subunits don't count because those are not.
I don't even want to try to learn what's happening with that. Yeah.
So, like, what do we got? Right now, I guess it's Limelight.
Well, we have Limelight, we have Moonchild, and we have Kiss of Life. That's it. Like, those are the 3 we've gotten so far.
And, like, it's unfortunate that Wonhee might win this, but I wouldn't be opposed to giving it to Youngso. I like her. Mm-hmm. Like, there's people in this group I do like. I do just kind of feel bad that they're stuck with a group that is just essentially leading themselves to, at the very least in their first comeback, be scrutinized.
Yeah, it's
unless that girl fixes her face.
Maybe she'll show up and she'll be better all of a sudden. But
if that girl does not fix her face, this group is in for a wild ride.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate for her, and for everyone else in that group. To be honest,
True.
I mean, look. Every time a survival show finishes, they call the group that came out of it a flop. Mm-hmm. We've heard that. We heard that about fucking ZB1. After that show ended,
right?
Remember?
We hear that all the time, and look at them now.
Look at them now.
Breaking
I will say
records with everything they do.
Everything they do. But yeah, no. This group, I mean, I think it truly depends on what comes out musically. Mm-hmm. Much more so, because, like, so few people I've seen are, like, an automatic yes.
Right.
It is at best, it's like,
well,
let's see.
We have to see.
We have to see.
Yeah.
At worst, it's an absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of absolutely nots. And that's the thing with a lot of these shows. What you want is oh my god, I'm so excited. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited. It's like, no, I've seen none of that for this group. And that's unfortunate. It's like the same thing would happen with Fantasy Boys.
Right.
Only with Fantasy Boys, I will say, at least she's not K-Soul. She's not the worst idol we got out of one
Not the worst person I've ever seen.
I'll give Wonhee this. She's not K-Soul.
She's not K-Soul.
It's truly like passing the bar on the floor. But hey.
Crazy, actually.
It's whatever.
Crazy that there's a worse person who is going to debut this year.
In September. We just saw it. Soon. We just saw the announcement.
They're coming soon. Oh boy.
They're happening. I'm not excited.
I'm not excited even a little bit. I'm actually actively dreading it.
It's going to be so bad. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. Otherwise, All It I don't like that there's an apostrophe and a hyphen.
Yeah.
It's apostrophed and hyphenated.
I
What
know.
the fuck?
It sucks.
I hate that. At least there's no plus sign, though.
Right.
They got rid of the plus sign in yours, but still.
They did, but it was there for a little bit, and it's still not that better of a name, so.
Fair, but at least yours is not permanent.
True. It's a fun little side project.
This is unfortunate. I will say I am far more interested to see what, like, Chanel. Hope someone snatches up Chanel.
Yeah.
Hope someone snatches Himena. Hope someone snatches up Jimin.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I do want to, before we finish, talk about Hybe's thing of, I guess if you don't make a Hybe group, you get kicked out of the company.
Right. Because, like, okay.
That's what I heard.
Yep.
Because we read that in the BTS
Crazy,
book.
actually.
And that made sense for, like,
For
people that didn't make BTS
yeah.
because they were bleeding money at the time. Like, that makes
But
perfect sense.
that's not a thing that I don't know is a great practice to just have generally for your trainees.
Like, if someone doesn't make a group,
Bye.
doesn't make a survival show, it's like, get out. Get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Wild.
Someone snatch up someone get another co-ed group going.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out. Give me a co-ed group. Give me Chanel.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Jay. Give me Camden.
Yeah, give us all of those
give
kids.
me this.
Yeah.
Give me all of these people.
Right.
Let's have a good time.
Yes.
Give me some of them Thai kids. Santa wanna come? Bring them in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me life.
Yep.
It could be fun. There's an option
Could
there.
be.
I think Chanel and Jay should talk.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I think Chanel should talk. For a second, I'm like, yeah, Jay from Boys Planet, but also Jay from Enhypen.
Also,
I think they'd
Jay
be
from
friends.
Enhypen.
That too. So many Jays in K-pop.
Too many.
So many
Too
Js.
many, if we're being honest. Too many J's.
But yes, I truly think that, like, there's a lot of people I want to see what they do.
Yeah.
I'm far more interested in that than the actual group
Mhm.
right now, at this moment.
Right.
At this moment, not 48 hours after we got the group announcement.
Uh-huh. Well,
And I can't believe we keep doing this to ourselves, because we're about to fucking start 2 more of these.
I know.
One and then the other one.
Yep. Crazy.
Who knows?
Crazy stuff.
We are definitely doing an episode on Produce Japan Season 3.
Yep.
We are maybe yes, maybe no doing one on Dream Academy.
Yep. Depends on how that goes. We're still ready
Depends on how
to
that
to
goes.
bail on that whenever, really.
If we have to eject, if it gets Cruel Like Island
Mhm.
or as weird as A2K,
yeah.
as weird as that show, or as, like, blatantly, like, I don't even know what the hell to compare it to with Are You Next, but any of those things we are bailing because
Yeah.
it's technically not K-pop.
Right.
I am willing to stick it out because, dear God, that show looks like it's gonna be,
Mhm.
one, the budget looks insane.
Yeah.
And two, I want to know what the hell we're making, because I don't know what we're making.
No clue, honestly. I am curious to watch Asia Super Young, whatever that is.
Ages Super Young, yes, I am
I do
excited
wanna
for. I am
watch
also
that for
a little.
Ollie.
I'm also curious what we're gonna do with Chwang Asia.
I'm so curious what that's gonna be like.
Like, I will say we are in for a fun ride over the next, like,
Mhm.
it's not even a year, because 2 of them are coming out this year.
Right.
Like I was not expecting Produce
I
Japan.
didn't. I was ready for Produce Japan early next year. I was not ready
I
for it to
know.
be in October.
I hope it freaking. No, it's gonna end in, like, December, isn't it?
October, November. Yeah, it'll end in just. It'll end. Maybe we'll get another Christmas song.
Hopefully,
Because I
this
think
time actually at Christmas.
yeah, because I think it might be airing in the same like time slot that Produce Japan or Produce Japan 1 aired, like the JO1 season.
Yes.
So
we'll get
maybe
we
we'll
might
get
get
a
Christmas
follow
song.
up to Happy Merry Christmas.
Or at the very least, can we cover it?
right. That would be so great if we did a
That
cover.
would be amazing.
It would be so good.
So I guess stick around in January for episodes of that, and, like,
Yep.
I don't.
And
we already have so much on our
massive
plate.
amount of
for-
other survival shows. I'm sure we will get in next year as well. So
We might have to combine. I don't know what we're gonna do with Dream Academy because that ends this year,
Yeah.
and then our December schedule's so full
I know,
already. So that might also
we'll
wait till
see.
January.
We'll see what happens there.
We're gonna have to freaking base our entire lives around survival shows from now on.
I know it's really that's where we're at though. So
This is
It's
what we've
fun.
chosen for ourselves.
So fun. I'm having so much fun doing this.
And then, hopefully we get a Kingdom Puzzle. We better get a goddamn Kingdom Puzzle.
I need Kingdom Puzzle. Like,
I want it so
would
bad.
actually love Kingdom Puzzle because if I enjoyed
so
Queendom Puzzle, I'm like, I need there to be Kingdom Puzzle. Like, I actually
I will watch.
need that to happen.
We might have
we
to.
would probably
every
do
round
we would probably every round Kingdom Puzzle because we've done that for every Kingdom series. So like, I think we would have to.
Yeah.
But I would love
It'd
that.
be so good.
I would love that. I would love to have a Kingdom Puzzle.
Start casting. Mnet, you always do
Get on your shit, Mnet.
Get on your shit, because you always start by, like, introducing a concept with women, and then you perfect it with the men.
They're gonna, like, I need them to do the thing where they tease it at the Mama Awards, and then it airs in the next year.
Yes! Give me everything.
Yeah. Well, that has been Queendom Puzzle and Are You Next? We have to start dividing and conquering when we're given a record amount of survival shows to talk about.
We really do.
Yep. So we are available on all major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We also have a YouTube channel where we post all of our episodes and fun clip videos occasionally as well. Both me and Sammy are ranking all of the performances from Queendom Puzzle and Are You Next, respectively. So we will have videos on that soon. And with that, we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.